Our coalition is chaired by Senator Mamie Locke. Yes, that pause was intentional. And vice chaired by Delegate Sia Price. And made up of the following organizations: ACLU of Virginia, NAACP Virginia State Conference. I just did something to the laptop here. New Virginia Majority, No Left Turns, Virginia Civic Engagement Table, Virginia Interfaith Advocacy, Virginia League of Conservation Voters, and Virginia Organizing. Woo! I want to name that a lot of the groundwork for this committee was laid by a voting rights coalition founded by Sheba Williams in 2016. I also want to add that our committee is supported by a small team of staff who have done some big lifting to make today's event possible. And that's campaign manager Amber Brown, our statewide organizing director Simone Dreyer, senior advisor Dave Mills, Dave. Our social media consultant and graphic designer Michael Thompson, and communications consultant Katie Baker. Thank you, Katie. And I also want to recognize my colleague at the Virginia League of Conservation Voters, Rachel Dyer, for her tremendous work on this event as well. Today, you'll hear from elected leaders, advocates, and Virginians whose personal stories remind us exactly why this amendment matters. And before we begin, I'd like to invite Reverend Lakeisha Cook from Virginia Interfaith Advocacy. We have Reverend Cook, their executive director, here today to offer an invocation. Reverend Cook.
Let us just take a moment and close our eyes and center and ground ourselves. Let's take a deep breath in, and we let it out. And we express gratitude, very grateful for this day, grateful for this moment, grateful for this time. We are standing collectively together in this fight for justice. And we are grateful for this monumental launch of the continuation of a work that has been going on for many, many years. So in this moment, we say thank you. Thank you for those who have been fighting over the years. We say thank you. Thank you for those who are now ancestors, who put their power, their blood, their sweat, their tears in fighting for this thing that we call democracy. We say thank you. For the privilege to vote, God, we say thank you. We thank you for this moment as we fight for everybody in Virginia, to have that eligibility to vote. So right now, we join together in love and power right now. We ask for blessings for this moment in this place right now. We ask for extra strength and clarity right now. We continue to fight for those who need us to fight for them so that they might get their rights back right now. We ask for guidance and direction right now. We ask that you take away anything that might divide this cause, but God, wrap us in unity together so we might get this across the finish line right now. We feel encouraged right now. We feel like we can keep running on right now. We are declaring victory in November right now. Do what you do best. Show up and show out, God, right now. We just say thank you. And we thank you for binding us together in unity in this place. In power and faith, we all say amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Cook, for those inspiring words. It is now my pleasure to welcome a leader who has spent his career fighting to protect the rights and dignity of Virginians. Congressman Bobby Scott has represented Virginia's 3rd Congressional District since 1993 and has spent his career advancing civil rights, protecting voting rights, and expanding opportunity for all Americans. Throughout his time in Congress, he has been a steadfast advocate for strengthening our democracy and ensuring every eligible voter has an equal voice. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Bobby Scott.
Thank you, Sarah, for your very kind introduction. And they told me first thing I need to do is recognize the elected officials here, and I've given a list, and it's not in protocol order, it's in order they showed up. So, Dr. Jacqueline Walker, school board member in Portsmouth. Also, Q. Futrell, a Portsmouth school board member. Raman Fadahi, Commonwealth's attorney in Norfolk. Carlos Clanson, city council member in Norfolk. Andrew Williams Graves, state senator from Norfolk. Shelley Simons, the delegate from Newport News. Shannon Jones, the Commonwealth's attorney from Newport News. Don Hester, the treasurer of Norfolk. McKinley Price, the former mayor of Newport News. Darius Clark, House of Delegates. Bonita Anthony, member of the House of Delegates. And Virgil Thornton from the House of Delegates. Did I miss anybody? Huh?
Madam Chair.
The chair of the Committee on Privileges and Elections in the House of Delegates,
Yes.
Sia Price. My niece. Did I miss anybody else? Okay. Great. It's an honor to participate in this launch of Virginians for Voting Rights Vote Yes on 3 campaign. It's great to be with legislators, many of whom just left another occasion where the governor had a ceremonial bill signing where she signed about a dozen voting rights bills, which is in stark contrast to what's going on in Washington. It's all voter suppression. In Virginia, it's enhancing the right to vote. So thank you and congratulations to all of those legislators. We also want to thank Sia Price and Mamie Locke for agreeing to be chair and vice chair of the committee. And it's also great to be in the city of Norfolk, where my late colleague Yvonne Miller was a state senator. She fought to restore voting rights for returning citizens when she was in the state senate, and also the home of Evelyn Butts, who was very active, and even with her courage and leadership filed suit against the poll tax before the Voting Rights Act was passed, and worked the goldenrod ballot. If you've ever heard that, you wanted to be on the goldenrod ballot because you wouldn't do too well if you weren't on that goldenrod ballot. Martin Luther King once said, "Give us the ballot, and we won't have to worry the federal government about our basic rights." And what he said was we'd select our legislators who pass the right laws and select our judges who rule correctly on cases before them. We passed the Voting Rights Act in '65, and since then they've been chipping away at it and chipping away at it and chipping away at it till earlier this year in the Calais decision. They just about knocked it all out. In that decision, probably the worst thing since Dred Scott, they found that if you can prove that a redistricting plan is racially discriminatory, you still don't have a case if they called it partisan discrimination, not racial. And so they have actually told the legislatures how to discriminate. You come up with discriminatory plan, call it partisan, tell your colleagues to shut up, and the Supreme Court will have your back and will approve a discriminatory plan. I said worse than Dred Scott, that passes by Plessy v. Ferguson. At least on the Plessy, we had equal, although it was separate. This wouldn't even get equal. You have unequal districts, no remedy. And so I think the Supreme Court has made it clear that they're not going to have our backs. They're not going to give anybody the right to vote. The reaction to that would have been comical if it wasn't so serious. The state of Alabama, when they found out that they could now discriminate in redistricting, actually declared a state of emergency, called a special session for the sole purpose of discriminating in their congressional lines. State of emergency. What was emergency? They could discriminate. They hadn't acted on it. That's the kind of reaction that they have. And so this is where we are. And so if we're going to have a right to vote, we got to protect it by exercising the right to vote. And we have to do it in a way we haven't done in 50 years. The House passed the SAVE Act, and our reaction was just to turn the page and go on to the next bill. We should have stopped everything and made sure everybody knew how everybody voted so that we could hold them accountable. But we've been just so used to the Supreme Court having our back that that's not the case. And we're not the only group to take that kind of sleep through the last 50 years. Those who are pro-choice on the issue of abortion, after the Dobbs decision, must have looked up and seen lopsided majorities, right-to-life majorities in some of these legislatures, and noticed that they hadn't opposed any of them on the issue. They just let them get elected, didn't have to worry about it. Now all of a sudden, they've got to deal with legislatures that have those kinds of majorities, and they've got to get to work and make that, their issue, a voting issue. We have to make voting a voting issue. And we have to do it like we haven't done before. We have to make sure that everybody knows how people voted on that SAVE Act, the voter suppression bill that the president is so animated about. We have to make sure everybody knows how everybody voted so they can be held accountable. I don't get the sense that any person that voted in favor of the SAVE Act has received any pressure or any pushback for that vote. In fact, they talk about voting on it again. They ought to be hearing from their members, oh, don't make me vote on that again. I caught hell last time I voted on it. Let's leave that thing alone. No, we aren't hearing that. We got to hear it. And since 1982, the right to restore rights to returning citizens has been made easier and easier and easier by each successive governor, Democrat and Republican, until you got to the last one, where he just abruptly stopped the process. Spanberger, thankfully, has put the process back on track, has restored the rights to 66,000 new individuals, but we don't want to leave this up. We don't want to leave this up to just the whims of the last election. We want to put this in the Constitution so people have their rights. And let me tell you, this isn't going to be easy. Looking around, I don't know how many of y'all were around in the 1980s when we actually passed the same amendment. Stuck it on the ballot, and it got whipped 3-1. So just because we passed it and it's on the ballot means we still have a lot of work to do. And with your work, making sure that this thing passes and those that voted for the SAVE Act get tossed out of office in the same election, we can improve voting rights in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so thank you all to everybody involved. Thank you for the organizations involved. And thank you, Jackie Glass, for showing up. We have work to do, and we can make progress in the Commonwealth of Virginia while the rest of the country is going backwards. We're going forward. Thank you so much for all that you do.
I didn't realize you were standing. If I would just turn my head,
No,
you're
wait.
standing right beside me, delicate.
Oh, thank you, Congressman Scott. One more time, please. Our movement is powered not only by elected leaders, but by advocates, and organizers who work every day to strengthen our democracy. I think we all know that. Jamel Riginal is a Virginia Beach community leader, an advocate committed to expanding civic participation and ensuring every Virginian has a voice in our democracy. Through his organizing and advocacy, he has worked to break down barriers to voting and strengthen communities by encouraging greater civic engagement. Please join me in welcoming Jamel Riginal.
What's up, everybody? So I'm going to tell my story about my right to vote. So basically, when I got incarcerated, it was in 2011. I came home in 2015. I came home with no rights, felony on probation, but I did have a forklift license from coming from the penitentiary. So I went to the Dollar Tree warehouse. I had 2 interviews. I'm sorry. I had 2 interviews. My 3rd interview, they told me you got a felony, couldn't get the job. So I was on the job search. Ended up getting a job. They only paid me like $175 a week. So y'all don't know I was down bad, right? Went to a job fair, ended up seeing somebody out there doing voter registration. I got a job with an organization that, just asked me was I registered to vote. They were voting people, you were getting people registered to vote, helping people get their rights back. And the thing is, I wasn't allowed to vote because I just came home, right? So I played my cards right, whatever, took my job, and helped the people in my community to get their rights back and help them vote because a lot of people didn't know that they had their rights back already. So I took that and just dealt with it. Got hundreds of people to vote, 100 people registered, was voting, was at the polls, we was helping people get their rights back. We're doing everything in the community. And then eventually, like 2 years later, I got my rights back. But it took 2 years for me to get my rights back, even though I'm paying taxes, being an upstanding citizen in the community. I did my time and everything like that. But it still took a long time to get my rights back. So with that being said, like I said, question 3 on the ballot, it actually fixes that. It'll put the right to vote on the Virginia Constitution. And so if anybody with their time come home, automatically they get their rights back so they can vote. So as long as they're paying their taxes and they've been upstanding citizen, they can do whatever they want to do, just like everybody else. So like they said in November, make sure y'all go vote. Question 3, yes. And I'm gonna kick it back to Sarah.
Thank you, Jamel. We are fortunate to have many faith and community leaders stand alongside and lead this campaign. The Reverend Cozy Bailey serves as president of the NAACP Virginia State Conference, where he leads efforts to advance civil rights, protect voting rights, and promote equal justice across the Commonwealth. Guided by faith and a lifelong commitment to public service, Reverend Bailey continues the NAACP's historic mission of defending democracy and ensuring every eligible Virginian can fully participate in it. Please join me in 30 seconds in welcoming Reverend Cozy Bailey, because before he comes forward, I would like to strongly encourage everyone tonight to attend NAACP's event in Newport News to celebrate the 61st anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. It is at Gethsemane. I just did that because I wanted, that harmonious. Thank you for that support. Thank you. Tonight at Gethsemane Baptist Church, 6 p.m. They would love for you to be there. And now I'd love you to help me in welcoming Reverend Cozy Bailey.
Thank you, Sarah. For you Bible scholars, she said Gethsemane, as in the garden. Thank you all, and welcome to this celebration as we do this press conference for this momentous occasion. I have some prepared remarks that I want to get into, but I am inspired, as always, by Congressman Scott and something that he said about holding people accountable, for that egregious vote. Specifically, he was talking about the SAVE Act. This is not a partisan statement, but I want you to remember that the people who are currently in office in CD 1, 2, 5, and 6, if you're members of those congressional districts, you know what to do. I just returned a couple of weeks ago from the momentous 117th convening of the National NAACP. And while we were there, we discussed many of the challenges that are taking place throughout this nation, but specifically those that are taking place here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so as we come here today, again, on the anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, I want us to be reminded of the things, first, that the NAACP has always done in fighting for our voting rights. Our vision is to have an inclusive community rooted in liberation where all persons can exercise their civil and human rights without discrimination. And as we all know, the way that we do that is we try to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing the right policies and practices that expand human and civil rights. And that's what this fight for voting rights is all about. Our work then is rooted in racial equity, civic engagement, and supportive policies and institutions for all marginalized people. And the way that the Commonwealth of Virginia has dealt with, I will call, suppression of voting rights for over a century has picked certain people to marginalize, specifically those who had been convicted of a spurious definition of what a felony is and having to fight, as you've already heard from Jamel, to get that right back. For more than a century, the Virginia Constitution has maintained Jim Crow-era provisions designed to keep black voters and other communities of color from the polls by permanently stripping voting rights from people with felony convictions. Since its inception in 1909 and our incorporation here in the Commonwealth of Virginia in 1935, the NAACP has tirelessly fought for true equity and fighting for citizens, the citizenship that is, that's guaranteed in the 14th Amendment. And now we find ourselves on the precipice of codifying this inalienable right into law. Coincident with the signing of the anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we gather here today to kick off a campaign to vote yes on question 3. Because of the evisceration of that historical piece of legislation, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we find ourselves in an environment that's very similar to the summer of 1964. Some of you may not remember that. I was a young child, and I remember my parents coming home as Freedom Summer kicked off in Mississippi that eventually brought us the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and how happy they were and celebrating them. And now, in 2026, as we fight once again for a battle that we had already won, we ask you to join with us in voting yes on question 3 and kicking off Freedom Summer 2.0. But this time, we're not going back. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Reverend Bailey. All right. Today, we're honored to hear directly from Virginians whose experiences remind us why protecting the right to vote is so important. Sergio Hayes is a community advocate whose personal experience underscores why restoring voting rights matter. Today, he shares his story as a reminder that our democracy is strongest when every eligible Virginian, y'all are going to hear that a lot today, right? Yes, the nodding. Every eligible Virginian has the opportunity to make their voice heard. Please welcome Sergio Hayes.
Great afternoon. Thank you for having me. The last time I voted, Bill Clinton was on the ballot. I was a young man back then, still trying to figure out who I was going to be. I didn't know it that day but that would be my last vote for over 30 years. What came after? Years that I cannot get back. I didn't think I'd survive a long, slow climb toward the man standing in front of you today. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that the road was clean, because it was not. But it was mine, and I walked every mile of it. Last November, I walked into my local polling station, as I did way back in 1992. But I wasn't the same man. I walked in with my head held high, my spirit steady, not as who I was, but as who I have become. That's what restoration feels like. That's what redemption looks like. And that's what freedom sounds like. When I finally got to speak my voice through my vote, I did not take that moment lightly. I earned my voice back. Every year of accountability. 24 years, 9 months, and 13 days. Every hard conversation, every time I chose to build instead of break, that's what brought me back to the ballot box. Here's what I didn't know until I lived it, though. Virginia, our beloved state, is the only state in the entire country that makes you petition the governor individually, just one person, just to get your voting rights back. After you've done your time, after you've paid your debt to society. Not a process, a pardon. That's not restoration, that's permission. And it depends entirely on one person sitting in that office. Virginia locks up more of its own citizens' voices than any other state in the nation. Right now, there are over 230,000 Virginians who've completed their sentences, returned to their communities, and are doing great work in their communities, by the way. Same as me. And they're still standing on the outside of that door, trying to get in still. That's not an accident. That process traces straight back to the Jim Crow era, written into our Constitution to keep black voters and convicted felons from participating in our democracy. And that century is over. We're in a whole new century now, and it's still the same thing going on. Amendment 3 changes that. It writes the right to vote directly into Virginia's Constitution, so it's no longer a favor from the governor. It's a guarantee. Automatic, fair, protected, no matter who's in office. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for anybody. What I'm asking for is to recognize what's true. A voice that's earned back, it should never be rationed out one signature at a time. Never. So, good people, let's get to work. Let's get to work.
Thank you, Sergio. Yeah. We're gonna vote yes on Amendment 3. Nice, y'all. Nice. Our next speaker is Quinea Futrell, who serves on the Portsmouth School Board and is a dedicated advocate for education, civic participation, and stronger communities. She believes that protecting the freedom to vote strengthens every community and ensures every eligible Virginian has a voice in shaping our future. Please join me in welcoming Quinea Futrell.
Thank you. Love hearing her say my name properly, my Lord. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. So as she said, my name is Quinea Futrell, and I am a proud member of the Portsmouth Public School Board. The most fundamental power in a democracy is the power in who decides to vote. And in Virginia, that power does not belong to people. It belongs to one politician. For more than a century, Virginia's Constitution has carried a Jim Crow era relic designed to keep as many people as possible away from that ballot box. Because of that, Virginia today is the only state in America where people who have completed their sentences must individually petition the governor to get their voting rights back. Think about that for a second. Just one signature, one politician, depending on their mood, depending on their day, which can change like Virginia's weather, gets to decide whose voice matters. I know what's at stake here because my own family lived it. So outside of the accolades, outside of being an elected official, outside of the books I've written, outside of the service I've done, outside of the businesses that I own, I am the product of two parents who were incarcerated. My mother particularly spent more years than my dad. That lady, I guess it was a race that she won. So she was in and out all my life. And in 2020, she lost her battle. She came home from Fluvanna, less than 24 hours, lost her battle to her addiction, and we found her dead the next day. I don't share that for any sympathy, but I share that because standing as an elected official, being the dream and the hope of her and my ancestors, I never got my mother's vote. Now that one vote would have been the one that would have meant everything to me. But question 3 fixes that. It enshrines the fundamental right to vote for every eligible Virginian in our Constitution. Permanent protection that no politician can weaken, no matter who is in power. And we need that protection now more than anything. Just this year, the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, the law generations marched and bled for. Decisions about our most sacred right are being made by courts and politicians, hundreds of miles away, by people we never elected and don't care for, by the way, and we can never hold accountable. But this is a decision that we get to make right here on today in November with our own voices. We don't have to wait on Washington, and we don't have to hope that the courts protect us. Virginians can permanently protect our right to vote once and for all by voting yes to question 3. This amendment is about the people taking their own power back. No more petitions, no more waiting on somebody's signature, and no more politicians deciding whose voice really matters. Question 3 takes power away from politicians and puts it back where it belongs, with the people. So this November, it's not the governor who decides, it's not the legislative, it's not the Supreme Court, it's us. The voters finally get to decide. Virginians get to decide. The people get to decide exactly how it should be. My mother never got a chance to cast that ballot, but this November, I'll cast mine again. For her, and for more than 230,000 Virginians still waiting for their voices back, and for every single ineligible voter in Virginia. So vote the whole ballot. Turn the page if you have to, and vote yes on question 3 to put power back where it belongs, with the people. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Futrell. As we get close to concluding today's program, we are about to hear from one of the leaders helping guide this statewide campaign. Delegate Cia Price proudly represents Virginia's 85th House District and serves as Vice Chair of Virginians for the Right to Vote. As Chair of the House Privileges and Elections Committee, she has been at the forefront of efforts to strengthen Virginia's democracy, protect the fundamental right to vote, and ensure every eligible Virginian has an equal voice at the ballot box. For years, Delegate Price has been one of the General Assembly's leading champions of the Right to Vote Amendment, working alongside advocates, faith leaders, community organizations to build the broad coalition that helped move this historic constitutional amendment through the legislative process. Her leadership has been instrumental in advancing legislation to protect voting rights, expand access to the ballot, and create a fair, automatic process to restore voting rights to Virginians who have completed felony sentences. Today, as Virginians prepare to vote on ballot question 3, this November, Delegate Price continues to lead the effort to enshrine the fundamental right to vote in Virginia's Constitution and ensure that this freedom is protected for generations to come. Please join me in welcoming Delegate Sia Price.
I'm not going to be long, but if you are looking for a seat, we do have some chairs in the front. I will remind you, I am a preacher and a politician, but I know that I'm the last thing that stands before you and your lunch. So let's get to it. I am just arriving here, albeit late, from the same ceremonial bill signing that a lot of us were at, where we talked about new legislation that went into effect to protect democracy and strengthen our elections process. But our laws are only as good as our Constitution and the systems that enforce it, and that's what brings us here today. As we commemorate the historic day with the 61st anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act, we celebrate our inheritance of both triumph and struggle. And as was mentioned, that triumph of an existence of an actual democracy since 1965 was short-lived, as this year a final blow, basically gutting the VRA at the federal level, has opened up a free-for-all for those who would take us back to pre-Reconstruction era. So here we are, with that inherited struggle we did not ask for or deserve, fighting once again for our humanity to be reflected not only in our courts, not only in our laws, but also in our Constitution. This struggle is heavy, but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged because of the people in this room whose bloodline and lived experiences have brought them to this moment, working to right the wrongs of decades past. And I am grounded in art, and so it reminds me of Amanda Gorman's poem, The Hill We Climb. In it, she says, somehow we weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. I'll repeat, somehow we weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. In this moment, it feels heavy because things definitely feel broken. Watching domestic terrorists rampage our neighborhoods and kidnap our neighbors, while Black and brown people are targeted with over-policing and one-sided justice, to know that corporations are making record-breaking profits while families are having healthcare access and food snatched straight from their mouths. The unjust wars and genocide are being funded with taxpayer dollars that should be going to our schools and our future. Evictions, struggles with addiction, lack of educational opportunities, lack of resources for students with special needs, disparate access to life-saving medication, still fighting some of the very same fights previous generations fought that should have never been an issue in the first place. Damn, y'all, it sure feels broken. But then I sit back as I talk with some of my legislative friends and really think about it, and as we are conscientious students of history, it is clear that the systems that have these atrocities are not broken. They are in fact doing exactly what they were designed to do, especially the ones that were established on the backs of enslaved human beings and with the purpose of our continuous oppression. Weathered. Y'all, I don't want to be lauded for my resiliency against injustice. I want the injustices to go the hell away. But as with art, that is where we get to the second part of where Amanda shows that her hope is in those words where she says the nation is unfinished. Because that means that there is space for change, that there is space for a different outcome than what we currently have. And I had to reorient my perspective and not let the current reality be the ending point of my faith, because we serve a good God. I look at her words and choose not to place my hope in the systems, but as I said, I am encouraged, because those systems that continue to exhaust us and oppress us and kill us, that is not where our hope should lie. Instead, I put my hope in those of you in this room who have been blessed with the talent and resources to be disruptors of the systems, those who work for justice in the face of injustice, and those who work to lift us out of our current reality, then the unfinished business before us is quite beautiful. That shift in perspective allows room for us to have a vision that is different from our right now, a vision that is different from our past, a vision where justice is real and attainable and not a one-off based on the current governor, but consistently and readily served. We have unfinished business, and that's why we are here. My friends, here in 2026, on the same historical continuum of our ancestors, you are faced with the same question as them. What will you do to make sure that this nation delivers on its promises? Will you just come to this event and get your picture taken and be seen being seen? Or will you dig deep and commit to this campaign? This moment in history brings with it its own unique challenges, most with the compounding effects of being repeated throughout the generations. But as you sit there, you have the capacity and opportunity to see the injustice and work to fix it. It's simple, but not easy. And as I close, it will continue to take hard work and sacrifice. There are some of you who are here because you have understood that what we need to do is important since your first breath. The Tram Nguyen's of the world, who we would not have been here today with this work ahead of us so well laid out without her. The Evelyn Butts, the Charlene Butts Liggins, the Congressman Scotts, the Reverend Baileys, the Candy Munding Kings, the Sheba Williams, the Jericas, the Ambers, the Simones, the Michelles, the Katies, the Sergios, the Jamels. There are some of you who understand this more clearly because you sat behind bars. There are some of you in this room who have the luxury to not know this personally. So please, just take our word for it. Not only do we have to win in November to establish our rights and autonomy in our Constitution, we must win so big that there is no doubt where Virginia stands today. And with my closing, I want to be very clear that if you think you are here on behalf of someone else, you are here on your own behalf, because currently, as it stands, Virginia's Constitution nor the federal Constitution have an affirmative stated right to vote. And it is just a statement until we have that in our Constitution. So, we are going to vote yes on number 3, because we need to have that affirmative right to vote in our Constitution and establish the process for those who need their voting rights restored directly upon their release from incarceration. Losing this campaign is not an option. That's right. Not only must we vote yes in November, and I'm just going to say it, go and vote yes 3 times, please. We must do the work from now until then to educate our neighbors and make sure that a resounding majority votes yes for this important right to vote. So, everybody take out your phones. Please visit VARIGHTTOVOTE.org. And I need you to read it. I need you to sign up. And then follow us on social media where you can like, share, comment, and donate. Because there is no other option. We must win. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Price. Yes. I have some important things to say, so hold tight, all right? And is there the list still of the electeds who are here, or, because I just wanted to thank everyone again, but no worries, Congressman Scott, if you can't find it. Okay, can we please again, thank you, Congressman, a warm welcome for all the electeds and former electeds who joined us here today. Delegate Anthony told me we're good, and I appreciate that. Yeah. Truly, I know you are standing here today, but you all have been with this fight for a long time. So thank you, and you will continue the fight. Thank you to all of today's speakers for all of you sharing your voices and your commitment for protecting the freedom to vote. Thank you to every organization that helped make today's event possible. And thank you to each of you for being here. Please, I know it's weird, but clap for yourselves, please. Thank you. Before you leave, please visit our partners at the resource tables around the room out there to learn more about how you can get involved between now and Election Day. That's all you heard about today, right? Figure out how you can get involved. Tell everyone you know to vote yes on Amendment 3. And I'd like to recognize all the organizations that are tabling, but they are also the ones on the ground doing that work. Virginia Black Leadership Organizing Collaborative, or VA Block. New Virginia Majority. League of Women Voters Peninsula Unit. Upvote. And Step Up Incorporated. Am I missing anyone? Because I certainly don't want to do that. I also want to thank SEIU for coming out today. There are a lot of purple t-shirts here today. And so we would like to invite all of today's speakers and anyone who would like to join us to gather for a group photo immediately after we conclude. And then after we take a couple moments for that group photo, I know that some speakers will be available for one-on-one interviews with reporters, and that'll be immediately following the program in the adjacent room. Please, if you all can see Katie Baker right there, the lovely cater. Katie will help coordinate those interviews. So find Katie. Please stay, enjoy lunch, and continue the conversation. Thank you for standing up for democracy. Let's go win in November, and let's vote yes on